All right. No time to fiddle fart, everybody. Welcome in. Hi. It's good to see you. I'm Jeff Cavanaugh. You can find me right here on YouTube and at youtube.com/at DLLS_sports 4 or 5 days a week in pre and post games. That's Bryan Broaddus, the hardest working man in show business, who you can find literally everywhere, including the Cowboys flagship 1053 The Fan, Love the Star podcast, DallasCowboys.com, hanging out with Vach Lombardi, all over the effing place. Bryan, you're a psycho. Have you already seen film?
I have.
You're sick. You're
Well,
disgusting.
it's my job. I mean, it's if they're gonna put that film in my box, I'm sure gonna watch it. We all went. We didn't. It wasn't late for our post game shows. I know that you guys had one. We had one. We went till 9:30. Then Vach and I talked about it a little bit. So yeah, I just got up at 5:30 and started watching film. So it's kind of where it goes.
Okay. I have 11,000 directions to go with you.
Okay.
And the first thing is when I heard Dak in the post game ask about him and CD and slow start, and it was just like, if I had the answer, I would tell you. Do the answers exist? Is Mike McCarthy outdated in the NFL? Like, is that offense? We've seen it work. We've seen them be a top 5 offense, but golly, it feels so bad this year.
I do have questions about the preparation. That's one thing I would like to ask about. Seems to be every time that they have one of these games where they kind of get blown out, that somebody talks about need to do this or need to do that. When you watch this tape, there's actually some creative route designs, not to the point of what you saw with Detroit. There's like, it's funny that it's like there's things that they do with moving Lamb to a point where, like, one of the routes they threw him, they exchanged, and then drove him. If you remember the route that they ran where he caught the ball with one hand, that went across. Okay, they exchanged routes, him and Brooks. What they did was, by flipping spots, the Lions brought a blitzer. They brought the nickel Robinson off the blitz, which Dowdle picked up beautifully. So what the exchange did, it put Branch at depth, and now you got a driver with the crosser. Okay, here we go. We're kind of, there we go. We're kind of figuring some things out here. Let's create opportunities and space for CeeDee Lamb. And there was a route later in the game where, again, in break and route with a combination that allowed him to get inside on the corner, and Dak throws the ball behind him, and then you kind of wonder on the misconnection of the ball that when Lamb went vertical and Dak threw the out at the sticks. I believe that Dak, and this is just me, I'm a guy with a microphone and tape and, and a camera and all that stuff, and I believe this is what I saw. Branch over the top, then you have the corner there playing. So maybe Dak's thinking, I'm not going to throw the vertical route because of the bracket coverage the way it is. I'm going to throw the out to keep you from getting whacked by Branch, the safety. Okay, if the ball goes on the out, there's going to be separation there. He's probably going to catch it, tap, tap, first down, and away we go. But instead, it looks like, whoa, quarterback and receiver not on same page. But I think, and this is not a protecting of Dak, because he had some bad throws in this game. Oh, yeah. He did. He was pressured a lot, though, too. I think 47% of his dropbacks were pressure plays. But he made some poor throws, poor decisions. When you look at the interceptions and things like that, the pass to the CD on the back of the end zone. That's just Brian Branch being a hell of a football player, because Branch is like, wait a minute, you're going to try and tell me you're going to really throw this flat route over here to Tolbert? And, because they had separation. They had Lamb on Joseph, the safety, down there, and he's breaking. It's going to be it's going to be a big play if Branch is like, you're not throwing this ball to Tolbert over here, because they try and set up the screen. They try and set up a little kind of like a little smoke screen over there, and you get Tolbert moving, and Branch just holds his ground. And when he holds his ground, I guarantee you, Jeffrey, they ran that play in practice, and they had whoever with the scout team corner was step up, and the play was open every time. It's like, oh, okay, that one's going to work.
I think in camp, that's their favorite goal line play. And that's my thing is I feel like when they get to their favorites, they're very favorite, because Cooper Rush threw a pick on the exact same play, or at least the same concept, where they run the underneath guy on a little wee, and then this guy runs the corner behind him, and they scored in camp on that 500 times. Like that's their favorite.
It's a concept that they like to have. And, there were a couple of different other little creative design. I love the in-break and routes. I mean, watching Detroit's tape, it is so beautiful to watch routes that, like, all of a sudden they got three guys outside the number. They run a route, like they run three outside the number, and then they drive a guy from the other side inside. So what happens is they take you out of that area. They take your three and they move you, and they replace the three removed with one inside. And it's just like a bump throw and a 12-yard gain. Yeah. And you're going, damn. I mean, hey, there we go. That's the kind of stuff. But it looks bad. The Lamb route looks bad because of Dak throwing the out and it not. But I think Dak, and I'm not defending Dak, I'm just saying what I think he saw, because just watching the tape, and you'll see the tape, you'll understand it, and everybody out there will see it, and I'm sure that John Owning and somebody else will break it all down. But it looked like to me he saw Branch sitting there, and he's decided he was trying to throw the out on that route.
Formulas in the super chat. Thanks to all you psychos that you can't quit them. Thank you, psychos. We appreciate
His fan base won't quit them.
Hey, BB, thank you so much for all you do in helping to investigate and educate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
You mentioned in the chat, by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to fire them in. The odds of me seeing them go up big time if it's a super chat. So
we all got bills, Jeffrey. I understand that too, brother.
Man, still owe $29,000 on that effing pool.
It's a beautiful pool, though. Enjoy hanging out in it. Yeah.
Thanks. It comes in handy with the crawfish when you make them hot.
It does. Got to cool off. Got to cool off.
You mentioned how often they pressured Dak.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find interesting and found interesting and did and do and will, Jerry, was realizing before the game that Tyler Guyton, while healthy enough to play football, was not going to play football.
Right.
They were going to play Tyler Smith at tackle, and they were going to play TJ Bass at guard. And I didn't feel great about that. Like, I know Guyton has not been good. And so you're going, okay, I'm going to take my really, really, really good left guard. I'm going to move him to left tackle, where Jeff thinks that he can be okay or better than okay, maybe good. And then left guard, we'll see what happens with Bass. How did that go for the Cowboys?
Yeah, Smith had some issues on the outside, there were a couple of different times where some throws where Dak just couldn't step up and make a throw, because what happens is you get a rusher off the outside, and Smith maybe not on task of playing the position a bunch. He played it a bunch a couple of years ago, but now here you are prepping, getting ready. You have a blitzer. You now step down inside, and the rusher's off the edge, and you're late to react, and now he's in the quarterback's face.
That was weird. They had an unblocked end.
Like a lot of unblocked end. You watch the running game, and there's a lot of unblocked. To me, I never.
How much of that is maybe that is the read man for Dak, and he's supposed to pull the ball and take off running?
Well, the Lions also had Brian Branch standing there when all of a sudden, when it turned into Tolbert blocking Aiden Hutchinson. I don't know. I mean, that seems like to me a pretty bad matchup. There's a lot of, hey, we're going to fool you here, and it's not a lot of fooling going on.
Because I saw another one where I was like, why didn't he block the left tackle who just destroyed Zeke in the backfield? And the answer was because Anzalone was right behind him. Like, go ahead, pull it. I dare you.
They do a really good job of to me, and just watching that in the running game, where their guys are they number one is they have an ability not to make you move them up front, and then their linebackers play extremely tight to the line of scrimmage. So now the gaps are all kind of muddied in there, with that. But they couldn't get anybody up on the second level. We talk about that a bunch. If we could circle back to the pass block and stuff too, and you said about Smith, time to task, that's a little bit going on there. I think it gave them a chance. It kind of said, okay, we're not going to let you flop Hutchinson to both sides and just kill us from that direction or kill us from the left side or the right side. So it kind of solidified that position over there. Now, again, time to task, that's a problem. You didn't handle twist stunts particularly well inside. Your center is a really good young player. He hasn't, and I hate to say this, we've played 6 games. His biggest issue is when he pass blocks, when they twist the front and on him, he is so behind the twist. He is going to have to learn, and he will. He's a good center, but he just gets so locked in on the postman, and then all of a sudden here comes the looper, and now the looper's got to run on Dak. There was, if you look at the deep ball that was thrown to Tolbert, and we talked about the sun and all that. The sun, sure, but you know what? If Dak could step into that throw and throw it further down the field, it's a touchdown. It's a touchdown.
Yeah.
But he has to wait. But what happens is they don't sort things out in the middle of the pocket. And now Dak is kind of all arm throwing it, really not stepping into it. Again, not trying to make excuses for Dak. The interception he threw over the middle of the field was just, that Brian Branch grabbed and almost scored on to Brooks was a terrible throw. It was a terrible throw. And, but Dak, if he could have stepped into that ball that went down the sidelines to Tolbert, I think he had a chance for a touchdown there.
Formula with a question in the chat. Do you guys see any trades at all this year? DT, D end, wide receiver, running back. This will be a lost season if not. I know both the coach and the owner said you better not bank on that after the game. And I believe them. I believe that they're going to see what they have in all of their young people and that was always the plan this year.
Yeah,
and it's not an aggressive plan. It's not an all-in plan. It's we're going to see what we got because we know we're going to be eating some money next year.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy is in that mode where he will tell you about playing young players when he did it at Green Bay when they were extremely banged up and how, and then in week 14, 15, and 16, that makes a difference when, you have all these young guys playing and now they have experience and, you'll be able to, like your depth. He might be developing players for the next coach is really what he might be doing.
Probably.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, he has towed the company line about going out and maybe getting some help. This would have been a difficult matchup, Jeffrey. You and I talked about this last Thursday, as we do every week when we break down the opponent. Even if you had all your players, this was going to be a tough matchup offensively. Well, excuse me, dealing with their offense.
Yeah, when you can't get any pressure because you have no pressure players, you're dead.
No, that's a problem. And he the pressure that they were able to get, maybe the 1 or 2 or 3 plays that they had, it affected Goff to where he made some poor throws. But that's just, it didn't happen enough. They are a really good offense, and the way they run the football puts a lot of pressure on you because their offensive linemen don't go to the ground. They don't worry about the down linemen. They get up on the linebackers. It was a couple times where Overshone and Clark and those guys were they're fighting blocks. They're trying to get off blocks. They jump a block. It ends up to be in a bad situation, but they are committed to running the football. They're really good at doing it, and they put a lot of pressure on you. The way that they block is tough. They play with that fullback, the extra tackle, extra tight ends, and they've got 2 of the best backs when it comes to playing with patience, finding the hole, and getting through it. And Dallas had a couple of times where there was a 1-yard gain, 3-yard gain. But, man, when that ball cut back behind the center, it was a 17-yard gain. Yeah, it was, there was some times where, it was very reminiscent of what you saw from the game against New Orleans where you're your linebackers were just struggling with guys in their laps the whole day.
Echo 9 is in the super chat. What if Jerry's all-in comment was him pushing in all his chips, as in his way? If he's all in, that's a bet. And if he loses this bet, he will get a real GM. Fantasy, I know. See, this is why I appreciate you psychos. What was it, 89? 89 is when he bought the team?
Yeah.
So 99, 09, 19, 35 years.
35 years. Worst loss he's had. I think it's worst home loss he's had in 35 years of owning the team.
That man is not going to stop doing what he does.
Oh.
That man is not going to stop doing what he does. But my God, you're here.
This is your hope if you're a Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
And it's hard for you to give up. And I get it. And we talk about pocketbook and hurt. Jerry's already a billionaire. That's not going to hurt his pocketbook. He's a billionaire. He's $15 billion, whatever. It goes up every year. TV money, they figure this thing out. He'll always be a billionaire. You're not hurting him that way.
No.
What your hope should be as a Cowboy fan is that the next, and if this happens, this is my only hope right now, that the next hiring cycle, that you have an extensive period of really evaluating these coaches. If I'm Jerry Jones, the general manager at 82 years old, I am asking my staff if we're making a coaching change here at the end of the year. I'm going to say, listen, I want every MFer that moves the football in college and the NFL. I want every one of those guys. I want every name. You bring me every name, and we're going to sort through these. Steven, Will, him, Adam Pacifica, Todd Williams, whoever else wants to be a part of this coaching search. That's my hope. Now, people out there are saying, well, damn, Broaddus, they're going to interview, they're going to interview.
They'll interview Ben Johnson right before they hire Bill Belichick.
Well, there you go. Then that's but that's the deal. If I'm interviewing coaches, I'm now married to Dak for 4 years. I'm now married to him. So my offensive coaches, if they hire Bill Belichick, then you've got to convince me who your offensive line coach is. You got to convince me who your offensive coordinator is. And if I don't like your names, I'm not hiring you. I don't need a Marvin Lewis interview and then a whiskey drink with Mike McCarthy, and here we have a new coach. Can't do that anymore. You've got to go and interview the best and the brightest. And I know I'm asking a lot here, but that's what I would do. If my hope as a Cowboy fan is that the next coaching search, if that happens, actually is a search of the best and the brightest, because you are going to need to figure out ways to help your quarterback and help your wide receiver who you're married to and help your young tackle and guard and all those people that are on that offense. That's going to be your next trick.
KG's in the super chat. Just wanted to say hola to the amigos. Thank you. KG.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
Brother.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the Cowboys leading rusher. Well, I don't know if he probably wasn't the leading rusher. He just got the most carries. No, Rico had more yards. Congrats to Zeke for getting the most carries. They saved him for this game because this was a big game and it was very important. And they wanted to give their best guy the ball. Why did Zeke get all the carries?
That's a good question. Especially after what happened with
Rico just had his best game ever.
And and Zeke, to do your Jerryism, he said he did. He said he didn't do it. He said, maybe he talked about, hey, well, I need an opportunity here. Blocking.
We can do this.
Blocking was great. Blocking wasn't great at all.
No, he didn't really have a chance.
No, nobody really did. And and you get in these games and they talk about number of carries and all that, and you're bad in the red zone and you kick field goals, and but still, when you are trying to run the football and you let guys be unblocked, you're gonna have problems running the football.
Yeah, and I kind of can't get over though, because I don't know how many running plays in that game Detroit had that were more than 13 yards. But the fact that 6 games into a season, the Cowboys don't have a run for more than 13 yards and they can continue to say, we still have the right people here. That's crazy to me. And I don't think they're going to do anything, but you can't in 6 games have a run pop, not one.
Yeah, they late in the game they had one, but that when they went 12, but that was when Cooper Rush was handing the ball to Dowdle and they ran kind of the inside. They ran an inside handoff that I think went for 12 yards or something.
Right, because the Lions had reached the point where the
Yeah,
game's over.
it was
like,
like,
we'll
they
play
had
prevent.
me playing in the game is what they did. Yeah, it reminded me of like games I played in at LSU. Offensive snaps, we were 7-0. That just kind of tells you where we were at. But
It sounds like you were carrying them.
I actually it was I hated the fact that the equipment guys had to wash my uniform after the game. I usually was nice and pristine after the games. But this is it's tough. I mean, it's you get behind in games, you don't make enough plays, you can't get stops. It's just, you just knew that it was going to be difficult, and your offense really wasn't up to it yesterday. Your offense just didn't get it done, and you needed your quarterback, but he faced some pressure. The offensive line was not their best yesterday. Receivers, everybody had a little bit of some problems yesterday, and you didn't need your offense to be bad, and it wasn't good enough. They needed it to kind of turn into a shootout, and they could never get it there because they just couldn't get enough done, offensively that way.
I'd like to talk to Matthew in the chat, who said, I deserve all the flack I'm going to get today saying we were going to win. I predicted the Lions to win. So one thing we're not going to do, what we're not going to do on a Monday is pretend somebody said something they didn't say.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to Zeke me. Well, I said I need the ball, but I didn't say I need the ball, want the ball. I did predict them to win 92-4 Cowboys before I made an actual prediction of the Lions beating the Cowboys.
Yeah. I think I had him.
I game play basically because they decided to put Zeke in the game, and I can't.
He played as a blocker. You'll see him, Jeff. He's kind of like, he was kind of what they call he was kind of, what do they call it? It's a sniffer back, I think is what they call it. When you put him real close to the line of scrimmage, and kind of have him
somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Sniffer back. And so, it was, there was a couple of times where they could have thrown him the ball in the flat. Dak went the other way with it. I know in the 4th down play that they had a chance. The 4th and 2 play, was, just not, it wasn't where they try and run a pivot route or what is it, Jeff? Outside in pivot comeback.
Oh, when you do like whoop.
Yeah. Like I think it's called a pivot. You're a wide receiver guy, but it's like they on 4th and 2. It's they just the route was going to Turpin. It was a little. He goes out in, and Arnold was all over the top of it. And Dallas gave the ball to the Lions at the 38-yard line right before half.
And that's supposed to be a man beater route. Like that is designed. If you're a man defense, it's sweet. Because once I get you going one way and I go the other, woo boy. But Arnold was just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, cool. You're gonna run. It's a pivot route, or return route, whatever you want to call it. I think. But anyway, there were some moments where it was kind of a little bit of okay, let's see why that didn't work. But Lions weren't. Aaron Glenn did a nice job yesterday with his defense.
So the defensively, we talked about it. The Cowboys, it would have been the way we were going to talk about Mike Zimmer and whoever made plays on this defense, if they were able to slow down or stop the Lions, was going to be insane because they weren't supposed to be able to be competitive against the Lions, and they were even less than that.
KJ Henry actually had a couple of good plays where it gave me some hope as maybe a rotational guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm just throwing some things if you want out there. I mean, Jordan Lewis played well in this football game. I mean, the way he tackles, I think is the way he tackles, the way he covers, the way he's around the ball. Your linebackers were just so inexperienced in that game yesterday, and you get a team that runs as much is the way they run the football and the crossing routes and understanding where you need to be, drops or picking guys up. Boy, they really took advantage of your young linebackers yesterday.
I referred to this game as the worst possible matchup in the entire NFL for the Cowboys.
It is,
because especially when you can't, like, if you can pressure Goff, you can jack that thing up a little bit.
You could get, if you could pressure, it's tough. And even when they got some pressure on him, there were some passes that he made that were like, okay, he had one of his best days throwing under pressure. He traditionally can look like Drew Henson throwing the football if you pressure him enough.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think I saw the metrics. He was 7 of 8 in pressure, like for 140 something yards. And it was like, wait a minute, what's this guy doing? It just just when you think you kind of have all the answers about Jared Goff and pressure him, now he goes out and he has a 7 for 8 game, and
it was just so few that he pretended it wasn't real. Like, nah, they're
crazy.
They're not near me.
But Ben Johnson, yeah, he was toying with you a little bit yesterday late in that game. Yeah,
they wanted to get an offensive line touchdown so bad.
Oh yeah, they were
so bad. They called a pass play in the fourth quarter, up by 100 to score a touchdown from the 1.
Yeah,
is he auditioning for Jerry? Is that what that is?
I don't know, man. I think that was Dan Campbell clicking over and like, what else you got in that bag? You want to throw to? You want to toss the ball to Penny Sewell? Let him just run it in? What do you want to do here?
Do you know how many trick plays you have to be willing to burn multiples when you've already won the game by 1,000,000 points? And they're just like, yeah, let's rip off another one. Like, he must have 100 of them to be willing to burn through 2 or 3 in a game that is already over.
I think that game was really important to Dan Campbell. It was important to the Lions overall coming off the bye, but they played it like it was important. They sure did.
And not that it makes you feel any better about the worst home loss in the history of Jerry Jones. But as of today, and the 49ers by the end of the year will have something to say about it, and they're already coming around. Yeah. But that's the best team in the NFC. That might be the best team in football.
Well, they lost their best player. That's going to be now. How does Aaron Glenn? This team struggled with pressure. Going into the game, it really was all about Aiden Hutchinson. If you watch all the games, it was.
But after this game, they all feel like they can rush.
Well, McNeil had a really good game rushing inside. They blitzed more. Dak was able to get some of the passes off. They picked up some blitzes and stuff like that. But yeah, this will be this offense is capable though of putting up a lot of points, as we saw with our own eyes, and that's going to be the recipe the rest of the way for them. They're going to have to outscore people just because defensively, with no Aiden Hutchinson in there, that's their pass rush. That's a team that might make a trade. There's a team right there that might make a trade, knowing that we can't go into the second half of the season for them.
And Reddick time.
Yeah, exactly.
The Chiefs will make trades. Eagles will make trades. A lot of teams. We know which teams will make trades to try to win the Super Bowl, and we know which teams won't.
Yeah.
Can this offense find its way back on track? Because I can look up the last half decade. They're a top 5 offense every single year. Or is this offensive line not good enough? Because that's their line.
Yeah.
That's not missing anybody. That's your guys.
Brad Sham, I was talking to him post-game last night, and he was saying that because we were talking about best 5, and he said McCarthy told him during his coaches during the interview that he felt like he needed to play Smith at tackle because Guyton, he says Bass was more healthy than Guyton. And so with that being said, it means that they needed somebody to take Guyton's place out there. And that's why they did what they did. Your best 5. We saw at Pittsburgh, it seemed to work out pretty good. At times yesterday, it worked out good. But I think that this offensive line is going to struggle because your right guard is not the all-pro that he once was. And
he got a little beat up yesterday.
And your your right tackle will give up a pressure 3 and maybe a sack. Your center is really good, but he is very inexperienced when it comes to when they play games with him in front, picking that stuff up. And your all-pro guard is now playing tackle. Okay, he's your all-pro guard and probably needs to, but we'll see what happens there. I think with Guyton, that is that's your weakest link right there. So can they do things? Can Dak be that guy? That, people will say, I don't look at the money. I just look at he needs to make plays. He's for them to have any chance. He's going to have to make plays. Lamb's going to have to make plays. Brooks is going to have to make plays. Tolbert's going to have to make plays. Ferguson in that game yesterday, it was kind of interesting because I thought they were going to take Brian Branch and put him on him and take him out of the game. They covered him with a corner, like in his routes. They did a good job 2 times with a 2 times with a corner, 1 time with a safety, and then 1 time with a linebacker. Those were his targets. Those are who was covering him. It wasn't Brian Branch. Branch was over there doing something else, intercepting the ball or playing off the ball and stuff like that. So, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a struggle because the offensive line is maybe not the strength of this team.
Well, happy birthday, Jerry.
Will McClay, too.
And Brian, have yourself a great day. Appreciate your expertise, your friendship, your knowledge, your sincerity, how genuine and beautiful you are.
Appreciate that, Jeffrey. You have a great day, too.
All right. Remember, everybody, you have no idea what anyone's going through, including the Cowboys offensive line. So be cool.